Welcome to the Living the Dream podcast with Curveball. If you believe, you can achieve. Welcome to the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, a show where I interview guests that teach, motivate, and inspire. Today, I am joined by former nurse turned artist, Cheri Carandanis.
That's right.
Yeah, it's kind of tough, but I got it. But we're going to be talking to her today about how an injury forced her to leave the nursing field that she loved and how she was able to find healing through art. We're going to be talking to her about that and everything that she's up to and everything that she's going to be up to. So, Cheri, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Curveball. I'm looking forward to our conversation. I think it'll be a good one.
Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about yourself?
All right. I live in Portland, Oregon. I'm married with two boys. Both boys are in college, so away from home. I started as a nurse. I had a 25-year-long career as a nurse, and at that beginning of that career, I was in the Air Force. And so I was trained in the ICU and more specially trained as a critical care flight nurse. So that came into play when September 11th happened, and I was deployed to Afghanistan, and we were able to bring ICU level care closer to the front line. And that was the first time that was able to actually be put to the test to see if this CCAP program could work during wartime situation, and it did, and it was successful. So I was really proud to be a part of that, and it was such an honor for me to serve our troops in that way and to just do everything we could to get them home safely. And after about 6 years in the military, I decided to separate from the military as my husband and I wanted to have our children, and I didn't want to face deployment with children. I'd seen so many of my friends do that, and it just, for me, would have been really difficult to leave the babies. So I did separate, and we started to have our children, our two boys, and we moved to Portland, Oregon. And I fell into hospice nursing. I knew that I was kind of getting burnt out of the ICU scene and the high adrenaline of the flight nursing. And so with no plans in mind to be in hospice, I did fall into hospice work, and I did that for about 15 years. And that was beautiful. I really, really enjoyed my time as a hospice nurse, and actually got my master's degree during that time and became a hospice nurse manager, and took care of the nurses that took care of our patients. So that was another detour in life that I didn't know that I would ever take, but so glad that happened, and worked with some amazing hospice staff. And then in 2019, I suffered 2 brain injuries, and they were 6 months apart. And unfortunately, the fallout from the brain injuries led me to having to retire my nursing license. And so that was devastating. It was devastating to me to just kind of lose my whole identity and who I thought I was, and what I thought I could offer the world as far as purpose and gifts. And fell into some dark times and trying to rehab a brain that was broken. And that was very a slow process. The brain can heal, and it's very there is neuroplasticity, but it just takes time for it to heal, and got to keep giving it the right environment to heal. And so through that process, I found that I had a left-sided brain injury. And so the doctors were encouraging me to try to find ways to fire up the right side that was not injured. And so when I would ask what that meant, they said creativity and mindfulness and intuition and presence. And those were not places I lived in my previous life. And so it was hard. It was really hard to try to figure out how to incorporate that into my life. But I fell into painting. I wasn't really creative before. I was just very analytical, love science, love researching things, love taking care of people, medical settings. And so creativity was new to me. And I found that it actually was the road back to my healing. And it continues today. And so I paint on large surfaces and I paint abstractly. So it's an intuitive abstract painter. That's the kind of painting I do. And I think that it helped me find like who I really was. Creativity has an amazing and beautiful way of unlocking who we are and getting to know our intuitive selves. And it also helped me reconnect with people because abstract painting is such a connector. You know, people can look at a piece of art and feel something about it. And so I love that part of what I do. And so at the beginning, obviously, when I first started painting, it wasn't pretty. It didn't look nice. It was just therapy for me. But then friends and family started to say that, you know, you're getting better at this. Maybe you should sell some of your art. And so in 2023, I did decide to start a business. And so that's when Carandanis Fine Art started. And it's been amazing. It's been amazing. I haven't looked back. And so I'm a professional artist now, which is hard to believe, but so grateful that I did find this path.
Well, congratulations. Kind of expand on how art help you heal, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually.
Yeah. I think creativity is, you know, I used to think of creativity as the output of something. Like I make something and then people get to say if they like it or not. And that seemed performative to me and there seemed to be a lot of pressure around that. Um, but what creativity really is for me now is a relationship with my intuition, with the seat of my soul, like who I truly am. And what I discovered in going to that place of, and the way I do that is through just prayer and meditation and quieting that inner critic in our minds and just getting in touch with who we were created to be. And I realized that I was really performing in this world and I was meeting other people's expectations of what they thought I should do and be. And so creativity really helped me, like you said, not on just a physical level, because creativity is such a powerful unlocking for our physical ailments. Um, I just know that when we can kind of get into that place of flow, like writers will, you know, describe being in flow as they write, dancers, singers, musicians, songwriters, we all can experience this flow. And for me, I believe that's just when we tap into something divine and something that God gets to participate in with us. And whenever we can tap into that kind of energy, it's going to heal us on every level. And so don't know that I would have understood that necessarily before, but now having experienced it, I know that that's how my brain injury is healing and getting better. And psychologically, I came out of depression and anxiety. Um, and, you know, spiritually, it's like when we can be creative and exist in that space, you just feel so much love. You just feel so much love and so much acceptance, and there isn't any judgment, there isn't any, you know, critiquing going on. It's just this flow of love and of being exactly who I am, and it being totally safe and totally accepted. And so I think when we allow ourselves to go into those places and give ourselves time and space to be creative, it is going to heal us on every level of our existence as humans.
Well, talk about how it was when you realized that art is not just therapy for you, it's your calling. Describe that.
I think I realized that when other people started to see my art and they would have experiences with it. Like they were able to describe to me what they felt, or what they were reminded of, or even the title of a work would stir something inside of them. And that's when I realized, this isn't just for me. Maybe this is something that I can step back into some purpose. Maybe I can help others realize that healing is available to them through creativity because I was not creative. I didn't even know that was a part of who I was, but I know now that it's a part of all of us. Every single person has a creativity about them, and it's just expressed in different ways. And often we discover it at different times in our lives. Some people discover it as very young children, and others discover it later in life. But we all do have that creative component. And I think that's kind of what switched it into purpose for me. And this calling was that I had a story to share, but I also have through my art um, a message of hope that doesn't look pretty or all wrapped up and with a bow. It's healing that's gone through fire. It's healing that's gritty. um and I think that's just real. I think that's how most of us heal. It doesn't always look a certain way. It's messy, it's painful. um but healing, when you go through that kind of fire, that's real, and that's it's lasting. It's a sustainable type of healing. And so I think that's when it turned into my calling. Was not only it's like I get a double blessing in it because it heals me. It makes me feel so happy when I'm at the canvas and I'm able to paint. But then on the other side of it, it can bless others, and they can see themselves in it. They can see parts of their lives in it, and hopefully bring some hope and some healing to them too.
Well, explain to the listeners how you translate complex emotions such as grief, loss, and rebirth into your art.
Hmm. Grief. So grief, it's a big one for me. So my art, as I said, is intuitive and it is abstract, and so a lot of my brushstrokes, color choices, even the mediums I use, whether it's acrylic or an oil stick, or even some modeling paste to make the surface of the canvas rough. They're all choices reflecting how I'm feeling. And grief is a huge part of my art now, because in 2023, which is probably the main reason I started to make this into a business and into a ministry in essence, is because I lost my father tragically in 2023. He lived here in my neighborhood with my mom, and just had a great relationship with them being so close by. And he loved to go fishing. And so one weekend, him and my mom went in their RV, and they went to the Washington coast to go fishing. And a sneaker wave just took him off of the jetty and killed him. And so grief has been a huge part of healing and processing for me in the last couple of years. And it is really interesting to see how it has been expressed in my paintings, because grief can be so powerful and dark almost. And I do notice that there's this darkness in my paintings, and often it's in the background or in a mark that that overwhelms the composition. But that grief is always balanced out with light and the contrast to dark, which I think it just resonates hope that we can go through the heaviest of grief And, not just losing my dad, but I felt like I even lost myself in my brain injury. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't know what value I brought to the world. Um, but grief is a powerful journey that is painful. And some days you feel like you're never going to come out of it. But there is always hope. And so I think my paintings reflect that hope that is in balance with grief and pain and trauma and loss. And so I really do appreciate that lesson that my paintings do teach me, is that there is always light. There is always light that emerges from the darkness.
Talk about the role that intuition plays in your painting process.
Intuition, I have discovered, is a relationship that I neglected for most of my life. It's that tiny voice inside of me that is still and small when you don't develop a relationship with it. And in learning how to heal and come back into myself and quieting my mind and spending some time just sitting with my soul, that's when that intuition, that voice gets louder. And in my art, intuition drives all of it. It tells me what color, what stroke, what mark to make next. When I am not connected to my intuition and I start using my brain and my thoughts to create art, it never lands. It just doesn't connect. I don't enjoy it. I don't like what I see on the canvas. It looks disconnected to me. And that's an indication to me that I need to return and just return to me, take a beat and settle back down and get back into my heart and into my soul. And the more I do that, the more I practice my relationship with intuition, because that relationship's just like any other. The more you spend time with it and the more you get to know that voice, the more you trust it. And so not only does it lead me in my art process, it leads me in my life. I know when there's decisions to be made. I know when what to say yes to, what to say no to. And often I am stubborn and I am a slow learner sometimes, and I go right back up into my head and I try to make decisions out of the headspace. And that just always feels disconnected to me. Doesn't feel true and doesn't carry that authenticity with it. But when I use my intuition, there's just this knowing, there's a peace that comes with that. And so I am continuing my relationship with my intuition and trying to find ways to connect with it more, and so that I can trust it more. I mean, that's what it comes down to. But it is a process and it takes work. And I'm grateful. I have discovered that at this point, but I sure wish I would have had it earlier in life.
Well, for somebody out there who might be looking to use creativity as a form of healing and they have no art background, what advice would you give them?
Let's take a quick break.
Okay, everybody, it's Michael E. Cullen II.
And I'm Sesame and Carta from the All Too Real 2 podcast. We're passionate about movies, TV, and pretty much all things pop culture.
Dive into the chaos of failed sitcoms, direct-to-video sequels, and the quirky realms of cinema and TV.
Join us every Thursday for your dose of All Too Real 2 entertainment.
We'll guide you through the debates like whether Howard the Duck qualifies as a superhero.
Ponder if Larry the Cable Guy could be the new Rock or Schwarzenegger.
Discover if some shows and movies should have stayed in the cutting room.
Ever heard of a sitcom featuring that dictator with the funny mustache? Well, we watched it.
We're dedicated to unraveling the peculiarities of pop culture, sometimes with awesome guests.
So, if you're into the eccentric world of pop culture,
listen and subscribe to All Too Real 2.
Available wherever you find podcasts
and on Age of Radio.
The first thing I would say is to try to spend some time, release any of that judgment in our head. Because if I sat down, and I did, I sat down, I didn't know anything about art. I didn't know anything about colors. I didn't know anything. And the first time I sat down and put paint to a cardboard box, because that's all I had at the time, um, I judged it. I was like, oh, that's awful. It's ugly. That's a terrible color, and that would have shut me down so quickly. And it did. I just thought, no, I'm not good at this. This isn't something I can ever be good at. But what I learned was I needed to quiet that voice. I needed to get rid of that judgment and that critique in my head. And so the first step is to just be kind to yourself and let your body tell you what marks to make, and just trust it. Just go with it. Just even sitting down with a notebook and some pens and pencils, you don't need any fancy supplies. Just start to make marks and notice what your body enjoys in mark making. Is it scribbling? Is it loops? Is it writing, like, frenetic writing? Is it circles? Is it dash marks? Just play. Try to go back into your childlike self and get the crayons out and just play and just notice. Just notice, what do I enjoy doing? What marks do I enjoy making? What colors do I go to? And that can be different every time you sit down to create. And I think it would be, don't put an expectation of, I have to sit here for an hour and do this. 5 minutes, just taking 5 minutes. And if it's not art, writing, just writing stream of consciousness, just writing whatever comes to your mind with no judgment and no expectation that you'd show it to anyone, to just do it for yourself. And I think that practice of going back and doing this creative practice, whether it's writing, drawing, painting, dancing, songwriting, whatever it is, I think it's that practice of starting very simple and small with no expectations of anyone else seeing it or hearing it. And then over time, you start to learn, your intuition tells you what you like and what message is trying to come out. And it doesn't have to be some big, deep message. Sometimes it's just you like to scribble because there's some things inside of you that you need to process, and it comes out as scribbles. But if you can take a step back, there's beauty in those scribbles. There's beauty in that line work. And so I would just say start small, start without expecting anyone to ever see it, and to trust your intuition. Just know that whatever lands is what's coming from inside of you, and that it's all beautiful.
Tell us about any upcoming projects or current projects that you're working on that listeners need to be aware of.
Right now, I am just in the beginning stages of thinking about writing a book, which is exciting to me. I have a couple of exhibits that I am applying to that I would be so excited to be a part of here in Portland, Oregon. But I think the biggest project coming up is a holiday release that I will be doing. So I'm working on a holiday collection that I'll be releasing. And then probably early in the year of 2026, I will host my own solo art show here in Portland. So a lot of things coming up, but very exciting.
Well, so listeners can keep up with everything that you're up to and gonna be up to, throw out your contact info.
Sure, you can find me online. I have a website. It's carandanisfineart.com. And I'm also very active on Instagram and Facebook, and those handles are the same. It's Carandanis Fine Art. Also on my website, you can see an email, a place to sign up for my newsletters, and you can keep up with what I'm doing and where my exhibits are going to be showing. And so I like to keep in touch that way too.
Okay, well, close us out with some final thoughts. Maybe if there was something I forgot to touch on that you would like to touch on, or any final thoughts you have for the listeners, and also let the listeners know what message you hope that your, story and art will leave with somebody that might be struggling.
Yes. I want people to know that they are not alone. We are not created to do this life alone, and that they are not alone. And if you don't have community, if you don't have people in your life, just take one step forward towards a community or a person, and connection is there waiting. So make sure that you lean into your communities and into the people that love you in your life. The next thing I want people to know is that healing is possible. And I know that in the dark times and in the thick of the pain or loss, it might seem like you're just never going to experience healing again. And for me, I thought healing meant I would go back to the way I was. And that didn't happen. My brain did not go back to the way it was. And today, I couldn't be more grateful for that outcome. I'm so glad I didn't go back to the way I was, but I could have never known how my brain would have healed to where it is now. And for me to experience and see the world the way I do now, it's just so much richer. And I'm so grateful. So even though we might not know and might not know what the road is ahead or the outcomes that are there, just know that healing is possible, and that over time it will come. But I do encourage anyone that is struggling to give creativity a try. And it really can look like so many things. There's so many things you can put your hands, your mind to, and just give it a shot and see the power that lies in creativity, the healing that lies in creativity. So many times, we know scientifically, I mean, art therapy is a thing where people are in pain, and they're given art to do, and it can just touch parts of the brain that can help with pain. And so just trusting that there is science out there, there is a lot of knowledge out there, but what it takes is just for you to trust that it is something that can help you. And so creativity is something that I would have never considered as a part of my healing, especially as a nurse of 25 years. I just never considered that would be a part of my healing journey. But it has been the secret sauce to my healing journey. It's what's gotten me here today. And so I just offer hope, and I offer I just want people to never forget that they are not alone, and that there is community for them. They just need to take that tiny step towards it.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, for more information on Cheri and everything that she's up to, visit CarandanisFineArt.com. Please be sure to follow, rate, review, share this episode to as many people as possible, especially people that might be struggling, needing healing, and they can use creativity. Follow us on your favorite podcast platform, and go to www.curveball337.com for more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, and to leave feedback or any suggestions you have on the show. Thank you for listening and supporting the show. And Cheri, thank you for all that you're doing to make the world a better place with your ministry, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Curveball. I really do appreciate you.
For more information on the Living the Dream with Curveball podcast, visit www.curveball337.com. Until next time, keep living the dream.